Välkomna till Teach Me Sweden. Det här är en svensk historiepodcast med ett stänk av humor. För det är två komiker som försöker lära varandra svensk historia. Jag heter Erik Broström.
And I'm Jonathan Rollins. And in this episode, I'll be teaching Erik a little story about 13 living items.
Som inte vågar gå och lägga sig för då kommer Freddy Krueger.
This is a nightmare on Almstriden. Stay tuned.
Nej, det är fel film. Förlåt. Där skrämde du mig. Almost shit my pants. Det var läskigt.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't.
Ja, nej. Jag skulle aldrig göra det. Bara nästan.
When's the last time you shit your pants?
Nej, var det? Det var väldigt länge sedan. Jag tror inte att jag har gjort det i vuxen ålder.
It's not my thing.
Nej, okej. Ja, för det var min grej väldigt länge. Det var jag var tvungen att göra. Nej, men jag tror att det var någon maginfluensa när jag var typ... Alltså, det var skitlänge sedan. Skitlänge sedan, no pun intended. Men jag... jag vet faktiskt inte.
I don't know either. I remember peeing on myself.
Ja, men det var också jag har... Alltså i vuxen ålder så har det blivit... Och det kommer säkert bli vanligare när man blir äldre. Jag kommer säkert skita på mig när jag blir gammal. Om jag blir gammal. Man vet aldrig. Jag ska inte göra något dumt.
I've had a little short.
A little short?
Yeah,
maybe short. I don't know.
I've had a little... and it gotta run.
Jag har varit extremt nära. Du vet här, mamma.
Yeah. When you're holding it, and then you gotta walk. You know you gotta take a step, but every time you take a step, you got a little release.
Och man skulle kunna, om man visste att någon, man ser typ att den där jäveln håller på att skita på sig.
Yeah.
Alltså det är verkligen, man känner sig tittad på. Nej, så det är det närmsta. Och sen såklart, man är jättekissnödig så är man såhär, nästan. Men aldrig så.
And then we have the luxury of being able to like pee anywhere, kind of.
Exakt.
Find a tree, you can find a tree.
Eller kissa på någons brevlåda, trappuppgång, tunnelbana, Ica. I don't give a shit.
Fire hydrant.
Ja, måste jag kissa så måste jag kissa.
But I'll be reading this one. And Eric's gonna be enjoying something that I hope you don't know about.
Okay.
Because this one is from a little bit before you were born.
Okay.
So it's a possibility that you might be familiar with it. But we'll just find out now.
Vi får se. Jag kommer säkert lära mig någonting nytt ändå.
Oh yeah. First things first, I want to thank Maya for suggesting this topic for me. And I hope I do it justice.
Det kommer du göra. Du är alltid så bra på det.
All right, thank you, sir. In the 1960s.
I've heard this.
God damn it. In the 1960s, Stockholm had been a rapidly growing city in Sweden. Many of the country's largest companies based their headquarters in the heart of the city. More specifically, a sector of the city known as Norrmalm, which you might be familiar with.
I'm familiar.
The city had previously felt it needed to accommodate the growth and population boom by building up the infrastructure. Stockholm had, by then, an elaborate and effective subway system that we enjoy to this day. The city planners felt it was time to expand that system through that time, the 60s and going into this story. In May of 1967, politicians in City Hall presented a plan for how Stockholm's built-up area would change.
Får jag gissa?
Huh?
Får jag gissa?
Yeah.
Första strand?
No.
Nej, okej. No, I'm not you. Hörde ni förra jävla avsnittet? Fy fan vilken jävla gissare.
Yeah, it was
Jesus.
Okay. It scared me though.
Okay, sure.
The plan was called City 67.
City 67. Okay.
Yeah, and it's 19. I guess maybe they have one every year. I don't know.
No.
But this plan would remove some buildings. It would add parking garages, tunnels, connect neighborhoods, and even raise the level of some existing streets.
Okay.
So they're trying to like really, get it all, get as many things in the city as possible.
Shit.
And it sounds like what happens in a growing city. However, part of the plan was that a subway entrance, a ticket hall, and retail premises will be built in Kungsträdgården.
Mm-hmm.
And that's no big deal, right? Shit happens. You know? However, another part of the plan was there were 13 Scots Elms, which is called Almana. There was 13 of these trees that were on the site, and they needed to be destroyed in order to build up. That was part of the plan. Was to take a,
13 almar måste ryka från...
Yeah, it's like, it's part of this is Kungsträdgården. It's like, we gotta get this thing. And it just, you know, that was the plan to make, and that was going to be for the shop premises and this entrance to Kungsträdgården. Stockholm citizens at the time, they weren't that active in city matters back then. People pretty much trusted the government to govern.
Fucking idiots. Skojar bara.
They're going, det funkar.
Det här ser bra ut.
People, plus, as you can recall from episode 3 of this very podcast about traffic on the right-hand side,
right?
The government will make a decision to do something even if 83% of the public were against it. And I think the fact that happened made people just like,
säkert.
What will be, will be.
Och det var det samma år? 67? Var det? Som de bytte till...
I was around there, yeah.
Jag tror det var högertrafik 67, jag tror det. Shit, de gjorde många.
In 1970, some construction workers discovered a crack in the subway system. And it was right near those trees I talked about.
Okay.
In Kungsträdgården. And they said, it's too big of an undertaking to repair the tracks. So they could revamp the plans and move that entrance to here instead of like the shopping stuff.
Okay.
So let's put an entrance right there. Take that so they don't have to do repairs. They just basically blow that shit up, cut the trees down, and put the entrance there. Boom. And they're like, we're going to take the trees out anyway. So let's just fucking do it now instead of doing it down the line. Enter a little group called Alternativ Stad.
Det låter som fanatiker av något slag. Så fort det är alternativ innan.
But the Alternativ Stad was an environmental-ish group.
Okay.
But they also wanted to kind of basically integration of the city and they began their work in 1969. So this is right then. And they focused on issues related to the environment and in traffic and the city and stuff like that. So this case was kind of perfect for them.
Ja, visst. De bara, inte en enda alm till.
There's ways around it. There's alternativer. The city of Stockholm on its own had begun an advertising campaign to help mold the public opinion on the matter.
Hur då? På vilket sätt? Alltså...
I looked for ads. I really wanted to find out what type of ads they had. Because I don't think the commercials are good anyway here.
Nej, verkligen inte.
So imagine a commercial that's trying to get in the 1960s to say, hey, vi ska bygga upp Kungsträdgården. Men först måste vi ta ner de jävla älmarna. Ta ner älmarna nästa år. Like, what's the thing supposed to be? But their hope was that the citizens would see the benefit of the subway system stretching to Kungsträdgården.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is cool.
Så det här är egentligen bara också för att bygga ut en station. I princip.
This part with the trees and all of that. And not just that, but like, you know, every subway station basically has like a tiny little hub around it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like, a lot of them have a centrum and they'll have like shops, and then so they kind of want to build up the city a little bit more, right?
Sure.
And I read at the time, I don't know if I kept that in there, but at the time, it was like residential stuff that they had already taken away. And like in order to make room for like streets and like office buildings and stuff like that.
Det som nu är Kungsträdgården alltså. Det var massa hus.
The whole Norrmalm had gone through like Norrmalm had gone through a big change.
Just det.
Since the 1940s. So then they bring in the parks manager at the time, or like the city manager. I forget what it was called in Swedish, but it's basically like the Trädgårdsmästare, I think it was.
Okay, yeah, the gardener.
His name is Holger Blom.
Holger Blom. And he's a gardener?
And he had the job from 1938 until the 70s. Just that's his one thing is Mr. Blom.
Pappa?
Vad ska jag bli när jag blir stor?
Jag vet inte, vad vill du vara?
Men jag heter Blom. Och jag har ingen fantasi.
Son, you can't be a flower. Think of something else.
Okej. Jag heter ju Holger. Men jag kommer inte på vad det är för något.
But Holger, he came with his expert opinion to the matter after this commercial campaign. I'm not saying there's money involved, but whatever. And he came out and said, for those of you that are worried about these 13 elms, they're old and they're going to die anyway.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that shit. There's nothing to see here. Let the work begin.
This is Nightmare on Elm Street.
You gotta cut these trees down. I'll cut the trees. But Alternative Stad had other plans. They formulated an appeal to the decision to cut down the trees for the train station entrance. And the city council voted on the matter because this is what's going on at the time.
Yeah.
And they returned a result of 63 to 34 in favor of removing the trees.
Okej, ja, och då blir det ju gjort, för det ville väl staden också.
Yeah.
Hade det varit tvärtom, då hade de ändå rivit det. Men vad bra att de röstade för det som de ändå skulle göra.
Yeah.
Skönt.
On April 23rd, 1971, the government, headed at the time by Prime Minister Olof Palme,
Hey!
approved plans for the new subway station, Kungsträdgården.
Okay.
Alternative Stad wasn't shaken by the denied appeal. They formed protest meetings and reached out to the media about the situation.
Okej, men jag vill bara... Let me get this straight. Det handlar om 13 träd.
Yes, in the middle of Kungsträdgården.
13 träd!
Yeah.
Okej, fortsätt.
Yeah, I mean, if they go down, how's anybody going to breathe?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? These trees let off carbon dioxide.
Hur hade ni tänkt att fotosyntesen skulle fortsätta på planeten om vi inte sparar de här 13 almarna?
There are alternatives! Why does his right hand keep going up like that?
Okay, why can't the subway station be in space?
Have you thought about that? If you haven't thought about that, there's nothing to talk about.
Det finns inga almar på månen. Där kan det vara.
So they another thing they did, they prepared a telephone chain.
Okay.
So the people who they enlisted people to join this telephone chain. It's like, if you want to protest, this is some bullshit. There's 13 fucking trees in Kungsträdgården. We got to protect them. And they're going to be destroyed. And if you want to protect them, then you sign up on this list. And then since you sign up on the list, then you get a specific group of people that you can call. And then they call a specific group of people that they're supposed to call. And this whole chain of people immediately goes to the trees to protect them.
Okay.
This was the chain that they came up with.
Ja. Ja, det fanns ju inte internet så att...
Yeah. So this is what they would do when it was time to go to Kungsträdgården.
Okej, hur många dök upp?
And this was to be a quick way to gather a lot of people to protest at the same time and make their voices be heard. The Elm dispute wasn't really just about the Elms, and it wasn't just the members of Alternative Stad who wanted them to stay.
Okej, det fanns ett sentimentalt skäl kanske, jag vet inte.
Many members of the public were dissatisfied with the urban planning in Stockholm at this time.
Aha, så det här, så det blev en symbol för någonting annat.
For about 15 years, large parts of the inner city had been demolished to make way for modern houses, car traffic, and the subway. This applied above all to the Klara Kvarteren at Nordmalm, areas full of narrow streets and old houses, some of them from the 17th century.
Ja, det är coolt.
And that area was considered unhygienic and unfashionable by the current government. So the city government said they wanted to create a cleaner, airier, and brighter city that many people could work in. Therefore, many houses in the inner city were replaced with office buildings, parking garages, and high-rises.
Okej, det tycker jag inte om. Jag är för alternativ stad där.
Okay. Yeah.
Jag gillar gamla hus.
Yeah,
Tänk
exactly.
mig ett coolt gammalt kvarter.
Imagine if Gamla Stan was a fucking business district.
Fy fan.
So many Stockholmers thought the new buildings and all the car traffic made the inner city monotonous, inhospitable, and ugly. Dissatisfaction with the Norrmalmsregleringen, as the process was officially called, had been simmering for several years. For many, the threat to the elms was the final straw. The elms also became, as you said, a symbol of the environmental movement, which was emerging during this time. So now it's a little bigger than just 13 trees.
Right.
So now we have sort of an awakening. Alternative Stad, environmental activists, and regular citizens all have beef with this City 67 plan, and in some way, the changes to the city. However, they now had something tangible to focus on in order to determine their own progress.
Right.
And that thing is these Scots Elm trees. The trees now symbolize the people taking back control. The politicians decided that the elms will be cut down on May 12th, 1971, in the middle of the night.
Well, fuck the people.
In the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night.
They thought...
So it was Nightmare on Elm Street.
We're going to cut them down while everybody's asleep.
I'll
handle
2 elms are cut for you. 3, 4, never here before.
They're not here no more.
Then I hear no more. 5, 6,
Chop them up 2 sticks.
7, 8, you will be too late.
Exactly.
Underbart.
There were the reasoning that the city came up with was there's not that many people there at night, you know what I mean? So that's why we're gonna just come in the middle of the night, cut them down, so there's not people in the way. We don't want to disturb people.
Chainsaw.
Yeah, and so they do it in secret. They were like, we're gonna just do this and we'll just keep it to ourselves.
Shady regering alltså.
But somehow, Alternative Stad found out anyway.
De hade spioner.
And since it was night, there were a lot of people at home. And therefore, they were close to their phones because this is fucking 1971. And the telephone chain that they prepared could quickly be set in motion because everybody's fucking home. You hear your phone ring, boom, you call your fucking 20 people or whatever.
Yeah.
They call their 20 people. So everybody found out what was going on. All the people that wanted to protest. And they were able to get to Kungsträdgården.
Wow.
And it's estimated that over 1,000 people showed up at Kungsträdgården to protest the chopping down of the trees.
Shit.
Yeah.
Shit.
And it was supposed to go on at 3 a.m.
Wow.
There's at 3 in the morning.
1000 människor går upp 3 på morgonen.
and go there. Now people will be all distracted. Nobody. I don't know if this will work now.
Nej, men det är rimligt. Man lever ju helt andra liv nu. Och Netflix.
Yeah.
Såna
Like, man, I'm in the middle. I binge watched my series. I went to bed late. I can't get up at 3. I gotta work in the morning.
Och på den här tiden så var det så här, tyckte du TV var kul? Ja, nu är det slut för idag. Och sen var det slut. Och det fanns en eller 2 kanaler i Sverige. Det liksom,
man, I was trying to read the book.
Ja. Typ,
Listening to an album.
Jag räknade döda flugor i fönstret. Hade ingenting för mig. Så bara kommer väl lite chopping action här. Shit vad kul.
There were some workers that got tasked with cutting down the elms with a chainsaw. Of course, as you do. They were escorted to the Scots Elms by the police.
Okay.
Around 3 in the morning, they started their sawing.
Det var ju det lät som Chewbacca.
The protesters were mobilized and the situation escalated quickly.
Började polisen skjuta folk?
Some police lost their fucking minds.
Okay.
And decided that's my input.
Yeah.
They decided to start charging the protesters on horseback.
Oh! Det är så sjukt, för jag pratade med rösträtt och gjorde de samma sak. De bara rider in i folkmassor.
Yes, they just all right, yeah, this worked for the voting. Let's make this happen. Rode into the crowd with the horses. And other police officers, if they didn't have a horse, they beat the protesters with batons.
Ja, okej. Jag trodde du skulle säga att de hade så stick horses.
They make all the noise themselves. This cop is out of his mind. He galloped. He mouth galloped.
Jag var rädd för de där poliserna på hästar, men den där jäveln skrämmer skiten ur mig.
He's an oral galloper. Some of the cops had dogs. Sick their dogs on the
Jesus.
on the protesters. And the protesters they had gravel. They were throwing gravel at them.
Grus.
Some of them, yeah. I don't know where.
Vad är det bästa de kunde hitta?
Some of them, which I think this was smart, they climbed the trees.
Oh.
They're like, you're gonna cut it down with me up here? Others formed circles around the tree. There's 13 of them, so they formed circles around it. Like you gotta get through me.
Just det, som man gör. Var det vi som kom på det? Nej, för så här gör man ju. Det är så man, det är så klassiker.
The little ring, yeah. So they tried to obstruct like that. For safety reasons, the sawing stopped. After just a few minutes, they were like, we can't do this shit, man. There's people up there, they're gonna die. You know, the cops over here are distracted by people. They can't protect us while we cut. I got this chainsaw. Somebody come at me, I'm gonna cut that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. Oh, yeah.
I'm saying, we was Freddy Krueger earlier, but I'm gonna be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Jag har ett temperament. Jag kan inte kontrollera min ilska. Och jag vet det. Boom. Så, jag lägger ner motorsågen.
Hey, you with the knife fingers. Let's leave, man. Let's leave, man. You with the mask walking slowly but effectively.
Mr. Kruger.
You too with the mask on. One of you.
Han skulle vara Freddy Krueger skulle kunna skydda alla träd.
Yeah,
och sen första när han bara, hans armar kan bli hur långa som helst. I drömmarnas värld. Han skulle ju...
I wish everybody would just go to sleep.
Då hade jag kunnat skydda alla. I'm a nice guy.
But by the time the song stopped, several people had been injured by batons and police dogs. I didn't see anything about anybody injured by a horse.
Nej, men man flyttar sig väl, man hinner flytta sig från en häst.
4 elms had been damaged by the saws, but none of them had were fully cut down.
Okay,
they just didn't have time. The workers didn't do it.
Nej.
And for a week after that, what was to be called Almstriden.
Almstriden?
Yeah, it was like a protest that lasted for a full week.
Okay,
just for like protested the this situation.
Yeah.
And the alternative stad was celebrating that they had saved these elms. Famous artists came out and performed in Kungsträdgården. Hundreds of thousands of people came to see the elms.
Wow.
Once they got heard a word of the situation. It was all on the news, SVT and all.
Det är typ alla som bor i Stockholm i det här läget. Eller ja, nej, det är väl några miljoner.
And on June 13, 1971, the governing politicians announced that the elms would be allowed to remain over the summer and the winter. And this meant in practice that the elms would not be chopped down.
På ett år.
Yeah. The city decided eventually to choose a different location for the entrance to Kungsträdgården.
För den är ju inte i Kungsträdgården, den är ju vid sidan där, ja.
Which has to be the least frequently... I added this part. This is the least frequented subway station in Stockholm.
Ja, för fan. Men den leder ju ingenstans, den är så dum.
It's like, how many times have you gotten off at Kungsträdgården? Like, I've lived here for 9 years. I've gotten off at Kungsträdgården twice. And I ride the subway as my main form of transportation.
Ja, det finns ingen anledning att gå där. Det finns ingenting, men jag vill aldrig åka till Kungsträdgården heller. Det är inte bara stationens läges fel. Men var det så att de var så här, okej, vi tar inte Almarna. Vi kan ta den här byggnaden. Här är ett barnhem. Vi har ingenstans att flytta dem, så de får inte bo någonstans. Och alternativ stad bara,
Yep, sounds good to me.
Bort med barnhemmet.
Sounds good to me. They can make a large tree house.
Yeah.
In these elms.
Vadå, är de här almarna kvar? Ja, är de på den sidan? Just det.
As for the 13 Scots Elms trees that were successfully protected by protesters, Holger Blom said back then that the trees would die soon.
Och de gjorde det.
Turns out the trees outlived old Holger. He died 25 years after the protest in 1996. And those trees are still alive and well today.
Men då är de på, alltså, om du tittar på scenen i Kungsträdgården, så är de till höger.
Now that you say it, I think that's where they are. I saw it from my aerial view on but yeah, it looks like
på kyrkosidan liksom. Och Berns, eller inte Berns. Nej.
What's it called? China? No, China's next to Berns, right?
Ja, precis. Inte där. För det är fel sida. Jag tror att det är den sidan där. Du har scenen där, du har kyrkan där, du har operan där. Och sen har du slottet rakt fram så. Så jag tror att det är dem. För det måste ju vara stora almar. För på vänster sida är körsbärsträden. Men nu när du säger det, varför sitter jag och pratar som en jävla idiot? Skitsamma.
The marks from the saws that on that spring night of 1971 are still visible on at least one of the trees.
Okay.
So you can go and check it out next time you're in the city.
I'm going right
Those
now.
of you listening that are coming to Stockholm, you can go see the mark on the elm. The Battle of the Elms, which is what it's called, or they called it Almstriden.
Men The Battle of the Elms låter mycket mer Tolkien.
Yeah. It showed that political decisions could be changed by the people's protests.
Yeah.
Some argued that it was not good for democracy, but after Almstriden, the politicians began to listen more to what the public thought and not just to their political colleagues, like they did before Almstriden.
Snyggt.
Another consequence of Almstriden was that Stockholm's urban planning was changed. They scaled back their plans to demolish a lot of the city like they had planned in that City 67.
Så det är därför Gamla stan är kvar.
Yes, that's why it's not the old town city district. They scaled back their plans and they also decided not to build as many traffic routes and parking spaces as they had planned, which I don't like because sometimes I can't find parking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
No, but I do like that. Instead, more pedestrian streets were planned and parks instead of the business stuff they were thinking about.
Nice.
The demolished houses did not come back, but without that elm protest, even more houses might have been demolished.
Wow.
And that is the story of Almstriden.
Jag hade inte hört talas om det här.
Really?
Nej.
I was a little scared because this is 1971. It's not too, you know what I'm saying? It's not that long ago.
Jag vet, men min familj är trädhatare. Du vet, vi pratar aldrig om sånt.
They're building scenes.
Ja. Min familj ser träd. Vad de svär. Springer med yxor direkt.
Yeah, man.
Fantastisk historia. Shit, vad coolt.
I thought it was so fun, and I'm glad the woman Maya wrote that to me to do, because I had no clue. And I thought it was gonna. The crazy thing is, I thought after, as I was reading through the story, I was like, at some point, the government is gonna be like, "Fuck it," and take these trees down.
Yeah.
I just knew they were gonna win.
Yeah.
You never hear these stories where the people protest and it works.
Nej, plötsligt händer det.
Yeah, man.
Inte en film. Har inte blivit en svensk film.
Imagine Holger Blom.
Ja, det kostar ju ingenting att filma det är klart det kostar att filma i Kungsträdgården, men det är ju en plats. Du kan typ filma där och sen en studio och säga att det är en jävla lägenhet någonstans. Easiest thing.
And you get there's little stories in there. You can have some couple that meets, and then a couple love stories in there. Somebody who's against it, and then they get turned at some point and go, and then they have this main scene where they fight off a cop from hurting her, and then they get together forever.
Och så är det någon som är så här motorsågsmänniska, som man har målat upp honom som värsta idioten, du vet.
Yeah.
Och sen är han typ så här:
I can't do it.
We can't do it!
You know what? Let's get out of here.
Let's go, man!
He's winking. It's not safe for the people. And he walks off and throws a grenade, and the grenade explodes, and then he just walks slowly.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, there's no special effects needed.
Nej.
There's not even a CGI tree.
Eller hur? Gör en Hollywood-version av det funkar ju. Kan ha vem som helst.
It's so dumb.
Vem som helst kan ha Bruce
This could
Willis.
be, I think this could be a movie. It could be like especially with a small budget. You could pull this off.
Ja, men
Almstriden,
jag vill
1970.
ha en stor.
Olaf Palme in it.
The battle of the elms has begun. So Gandalf is there.
Who's that flying on a broom?
The elms stays.
All right. Thank y'all for checking this episode out of
Underbart.
Teach Me Sweden. This was Almstriden.
Underbart
It was
avsnitt.
a fun one.
I love it.
Do like Maya. Send it in, man. teachmesweden@gmail.com. In Swedish if you want Erik to read it, and in English if you want me to read it. And that doesn't mean do the research. Just tell the story. She wrote to me Almstriden in 1971, and I had to do the work, and it was fun.
Eller hur? Vi behöver inte mycket. Bara ett ämne, en liten länk, en kort beskrivning, en uppsats, helst C.
References.
Skicka in referenser, okej. Och vi kan inte faktagranska, så att vi bränner era namn ifall ni får någonting. Men gör det! Det är rätt.
And you can support patreon.com/teachmesweden.
Exakt. För bara 5 000 i månaden. Not selling it.
Yeah, and then we're good. All right. This has been Teach Me Sweden. This is Jonathan Rollins.
Erik Broström.
Teaching you Sweden. We'll catch y'all next time.
Fred.